So, for all of our American viewers, we have the March Madness tournament going on, and even for you Aussies over there on the other side of the world, I'm sure it's an international tournament. There's been upsets out the wazoo this year, and so the AFL went and took a page out of the NCAA's book, and they just had upsets and a just absolutely wild and ridiculous first round to start the season. And honestly, I could not be happier with the way we got off. Well, I could be happier. The Giants could have actually won the freaking game, but that's besides the point. We'll break that down. But I am your host, Ross Allen, joined alongside by AFL correspondent Coach Donnie Hess. Donnie, my man, how'd you feel about watching this round one?
Oh boy, there's so many parts of me that were super excited. There were parts of me that just, I mean, I'm the brain exploding emoji for sure.
With
And
your
then,
team in particular.
oh yeah, and the my put my red and white, put my Swans hat on. I'm absolutely ecstatic. Round one was a complete surprise. It did come out of nowhere. I Swans Nation, do not hate me. I did tip the Lions, so I was very happy
Hey,
to miss
but
that too
we
for sure.
there's a couple of games in here that you were saying, I'll give you credit. Then you're just like, watch out for this team though, a little bit of a trap game. And wouldn't you know, it came true. It's almost like you know a thing or two, Donnie.
Oh, I try. I play an expert on TV sometimes. So
Oh man, but we are about to get into things because we had to talk about the still on mark rule after round one. Did it work? Well, and a little bit of controversy to go behind it. A great story of why Max King was absent from last week's action. The return of Buddy. We're going to get into every single game. We're going to give you all, at least. I know Donnie was saying he doesn't like this, but I'm kind of happy you guys have given a good response to the power rankings over on our Twitter and Instagram, mostly the Instagram. But I see all the likes. I think 90% of them are the Richmond supporters. I think you take a guess at who's the top team after week one. But I'll give you my power rankings, and we're going to give you our round two tips. But Donnie, like I said, still on Mark Rule. Did it work? And for me, maybe. Maybe I think we need a little more time, but there's just tons of confusion with this rule, especially in that first game of the round with Richmond. The refs have to point out where the mark is, have to like do a little air circle around, tell the player where to stand. No, you go here. It's almost like they're going to use some laser pointers to just hey, you go right there, right there. Yep, stay. And there's arguments from both sides. And the one of the biggest problems with this is that you can look through examples of each game, and it looked like in each game with each different officiating group, it was enforced a different way. And that's the worst part about any rule. It has to be uniform. What'd you think of it?
oh, I watched the first game and it had its great moments and it had its bad moments. I think the reason that they brought the rule in to open up the game and for more scoring, if you look at the first round scores, they accomplished what they wanted. Again, it's round one. I'm not going to sit here and jump to conclusions on it. I hate doing that. It's one round in. Was it adjudicated exactly to the law the way it was sent out? I do not believe so. I think there's way too many examples of it not being adjudicated in the right way,
Mm-hmm.
or it being like the one thing you're going to hear this year, if this rule continues to stay, which I think unfortunately it will, is you are going to get sick and tired of hearing the referee yell stand. No matter what broadcast you watch, you are going to hear that so many times on
Well, you
marks this
heard
year.
stand as
It's
much as you heard the whistle blow.
well, it's pretty much it's going to be the second thing. You're going to hear whistle, then you're going to hear stand, which uh, I. I'm very interested to see how the coaches handle this. I'm wondering if you're going to start seeing tactics of coaches start to tell guys not to go up on the mark, to try to stand back, to be able to have some flexibility and some movement. I've also heard some rules coming out there that they think that maybe it should be adjudicated a tiny bit differently when it comes to goal kicking, because there are at least several examples of the referees letting a player run off their line, which
Mm-hmm.
then should be a play on, and the referees not yelling play on fast enough. So then the guy's basically 2 meters away from the mark and they're kicking a goal because they're 5 steps to the right or to the left. So it's going to take some twistings. It's going to take some manipulations to it. I'm really hoping that they can define it a little bit better. The only thing is that with more fans coming in here soon, I think their job's going to get that much harder.
Just slightly. I
Um,
mean, we're only going from 50%, at least in the Victorian
mhm.
teams, going to 75%. I mean, and we're
Yep,
getting close to their goal is, I believe, by April 25th to have
yep,
100%.
yep.
Fingers crossed, you guys. Keep doing us proud because, man, were they loud? That was the best part, I think, about this round is hearing all those fans again. Oh,
Mhm.
I missed it.
How
I missed
how
it.
beautiful is people yelling ball when somebody gets tackled for the chance for a holding the ball call?
It's the
How
best.
beautiful is
All,
that
all in
sound?
unison too. Well,
Yep, it is.
it's so great because like, of course, for those that don't know, I only became a fan of this amazing sport last summer. So so like around June or July. So it was.
Mhm.
I haven't really been able to experience this, but seeing all those fans behind the goals with the flags, the giant, massive flags that look like they're way too big to be able to carry. It's it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Those Aussie fans. I've only heard stories, and so it was really cool actually be able to hear it in my own ears.
Yep. Getting to hear it somewhat live is an absolutely beautiful thing.
Now the next goal is actually going to Australia to one of these
Oh yeah,
games.
for definitely for sure. And it's great to see the fans back. I know that there was one newspaper in Australia that was saying that if the MCG can get to full bore or 100% fan capacity by Anzac Day, they could get 100,000 people. It'd be the biggest attended event in the entire world. The first ever event, the biggest attended event in the entire world. So they're really aiming for Anzac Day to be that day. We'll see. We'll cross our fingers that we don't get any pop up COVID things. I think
Of
that would
course.
absolutely be a disaster if that happens. But we will not focus on that at all. I'm hoping it. But please, Australia, stay safe. Please continue to do this. You're bringing us amazing footy. We want fans in the stands. Fans definitely bring a twist to the game that we absolutely love. I love the ball calls, even if I'm literally rolling my eyes because the guy just literally picked it up, which let's not go into that, but
These fans
it
are
is
always right,
hilarious.
Dunny,
They're
but
passionate and I love it. I love it. I love it.
we don't need it. Also, what I do love as well is your little story about good old Max King. He did not have a great
Oh
week. I
man.
think we can all agree about that.
Uh, okay, well, I think for those of you that have not heard the story, and many in Australia have heard it because it's been run into the ground. Just before round one, Max King decided to go with some mates out golfing, and somehow, some way, it still has not been figured out what mate did it or how it did it. He was struck with a golf ball while golfing, and the golf ball that hit him actually had him suffer a concussion, which led to him missing round one. So unfortunately, this is one of those the crazy injuries that I think everybody has had some kind of story about how they've gotten injured in a crazy fashion. But I think this is a new one for the years that I've been watching footy. This is the most unique reason to miss round one is getting a concussion via golf ball from a mate
Talk about friendly fire. Jeez,
in the most cruel way too.
that's awful. So he's going to be out for at least a little bit, maybe another round of his,
He may be
concussions.
back this week because the 12-day rule for concussion actually happened several days before the first game. So
Oh,
he
okay.
might be back this week, which should be nice.
Fingers crossed. It's
I'm
also
just
the thing about
wondering how many.
concussions; they always vary in terms of like time you have to miss. So hopefully, he'll be
Well,
back soon.
the
Right?
AFL did pass the new rule that you must have 12 days in between when the concussion was given when it was
Mm-hmm.
given and then your next game. There must be at least 12 days because it's also the reason why. And I don't know if you saw this. Did you hear about the new medical sub
Oh yeah.
that
Oh
came
yeah.
in? And I
Did
know
like
that
a day before the first game.
36 hours.
36.
So yeah,
Cut in a
36
little
hours.
closer, AFL.
Yeah, let's safe to say some of the coaches were not happy, especially Bevo, the coach of the Western Bulldogs, was not happy about it at all. And I know it was a tizzy of some of the people in AFL media that they were worried that this potentially could be used, um, shall we say, dubiously, that you could have a player taken off for the medical sub, and then just flub an injury by telling the doctor, hey, just tell this guy he's not going to play anymore. He's hurt. So then we can get our fresh guy in later on in the game.
What you're
Now,
saying, coach is going to take advantage of a rule? Crazy,
Unfortunately,
crazy.
well, here's the thing that the AFL believes that they put the safeguard in, so the doctors make the decision.
Hmm.
We'll see about that. We're going to keep, I think every single one of these ones will be, every single used sub will be scrutinized this entire season. This will be a point of contention, especially if a game gets close and a sub gets used, and definitely keep an eye on that. Now, several games the sub was not used by either team, so it has kind of blown the doors off of some of the arguments that, well, coaches are going to use it. Well, I know of at least four coaches that did not, including the Brisbane Sydney game. Neither team used their sub.
Hmm.
So at least we know that a couple of the teams are maybe trying to follow the rules, shall we say. But we, again, first round of the season, plenty of time to figure out different things on that. The same thing with man of the mark rule. It's going to be an ever flowing and changing atmosphere with this one.
That is a bit of an understatement. And then one last thing before we get into the game breakdowns. Buddy's coming back.
Oh man, the myth, the legend, Lance Buddy Franklin and the Sydney Swans is going to be back. Coach Horst Longmire has said he will be back for round 2 this weekend against Adelaide. And
Which is a way better game after round 1 than we thought was going to be going into the season.
if you ask many people, this game has taken on a whole new life after round 1. We'll talk about that in just a tiny bit. But
Oh, yeah.
Buddy comes in and he's looking for history. He's only like something like 60 goals away from 1,000 career goals. And to be completely honest with you, there's many people, and I agree with them, he might be the last player to ever have a chance at it.
Mhm.
So we'll definitely have to see. As I've said for a few things, I think he gets managed a lot this year because he's
Mhm.
had so many soft tissue injuries, hamstring, calf, different stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think he plays 2, maybe 3 games max in a row, and then he gets managed. He won't play.
Mm.
Sydney, I think there's very few expectations on them. And with the young kids playing so well in the first game against Brisbane, that I don't think Coach Longmire really is going to worry about if he sits Buddy or not, as long as he keeps him healthy for a potential. I mean, this does change Sydney's forward line to make them quite dangerous
Mhm.
if Buddy is healthy. If Buddy's going, that's a target a lot of teams are going to focus on, which is going to open up a Logan McDonald. It's going to open up an Errol Goulden, rising star nominee for round 1, a young kid who was taken in the late second round, the 32nd pick overall, and he's the first rising star of the league because he kicks 3 goals in his debut. So this Sydney Swans team played a lot of youth, played a lot of young players, and had a really good first game. Now, how do they back it up against Adelaide coming up here? We'll see.
We'll talk
And with
about that. That
Oh yeah,
that's that's for
and
sure.
with the addition of Buddy, that's definitely, and we'll talk a little bit about it when we preview Adelaide Sydney a little bit. We'll talk about some of the worries that some Swans fans have expressed that I've heard.
So, now without further ado, Donnie, let's get on into the game breakdowns. We're going to start things off with the first game of the first round of the 2021 season, and that was the defending premiership winner, or defending grand finalists, the defending ribbon holders. You got Richmond versus Carlton, and they take this game 15-15 105 to 11-14 80. And what one thing that we saw last year, and it was a theme the whole year: don't turn the ball over against Richmond or you're going to get burned. Carlton turns the ball over 73 times this game, and that's a big reason why the scoreboard ended up this way. The crazy thing, though, it was a fairly back and forth affair. Carlton getting off to a hot start. It was kind of aided by a big time whiff by Dusty Martin right there. Luckily, he would be able to catch himself. He'll finish with a couple goals, couple behinds, and the mark of 31 disposals. And where the game really kind of changed, and it kind of slipped away, and where Richmond pulled away, was in the third, because that's when Carlton kind of got behind on the behinds, and Richmond kept goal scoring, and it just kind of snowballed into a lead that Carlton wasn't able to make up. Besides Dusty Martin, I mean, was it 3 points for Dusty already? He's clearly your Brownlow favorite at this point, especially with Dangerfield being out now. He's not going to be able to get that award. Also, Jack Reinbold with a great game too, with 4 goals and a couple behinds. Great start of the season for Richmond.
This was a game, almost a tale of two halves. Really, Carlton in the first half was really the dominant team.
Mm-hmm.
Richmond kind of was on the back foot a little bit. I think Carlton really came out, and they kind of, the proverbial Mike Tyson quote. They came out and they punched Richmond in the mouth, and now Richmond had to respond. I mean, Carlton looked quick. They looked athletic. They were playing pretty good defense. They were kicking goals, and I don't it's almost in typical Richmond fashion. They let Carlton run themselves into trouble,
Mm-hmm.
and they started getting a turnover, as you said, a lot of turnovers, because that's Richmond's game. Richmond wants you. They want chaos footy. They want
Yep.
the ball on the ground. They want to be able to crumb. They've got world class small players, and then when you have Dusty Martin on your team, I mean, you have a one. You have a card. You can play at any time. He can go forward. He can be in the midfield. He's so hard to tackle. He's so hard to bring down. I mean, he started off the season. I mean, it's hard not to say. I completely agree with you. He's in Brownlow form already in round one. That's a tiny bit scary for a lot of the
Do you
teams
say
in this.
tiny bit scary, Tony? I say that's full on frightful right there.
It's a tiny
Oh,
bit scary because again, it's round one. Let's not jump the proverbial shark here.
fair
Okay,
enough.
it is round one. It is Carlton. It is a Carlton team that was undermanned. Again, Zach Williams didn't play. They've
Yeah.
had several injuries on this team, but yet Carlton stayed in this game. So the one thing I got to give a little bit of a round of applause to Carlton is that they could have folded up mid third quarter when it started to get on them, but they kept fighting.
Yeah.
They never let this game really get super out of hand until late, when you could tell the new interchange rule with only 75 interchanges instead of 90 caught up to him, because with 4 minutes left, if I remember correctly in the broadcast, Richmond had three interchanges left and Carlton only had one. So the last 2.5 minutes, if I remember correctly, Carlton had no interchanges left. Meaning they could not sub. They had to play the last 2.5 minutes, and nobody could leave the
That's
field.
killer.
Everybody had to stay.
That's killer.
So you're gonna start seeing coaches play this real cagey early in games and not do as many interchanges, so then they
Mm-hmm.
have some in the bank later. So that's another thing to keep an eye on this entire season. Though, be is how many teams exhaust their interchanges and when do they? Because if they exhaust their interchanges with time still on the clock, it could really change a game late if it's close. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. But this
Mm-hmm.
was a really good first game. Richmond getting to unfurl two flags because they didn't get to unfurl the first one because no fans in the stands,
Yep.
and then the one they won last year. So it was probably the first ever time in AFL history that a team gets to unfurl two premiership flags on one night. So kind of a cool little history moment there for sure.
Talk about impressive. One last thing I want to leave you with before we get into the next game is let's talk about the inside 50s with the Tigers absolutely dominating inside that arc, 75-41. You're not. It's gonna be tough to win 50 games with a margin like that. And now the next game we had was, there was so much hype going into the Bulldogs this year with that midfield, with Trelaw, with everyone, with all that crazy trade period that they had, and everything going during the offseason. They get it done against Collingwood. Collingwood 7-11-53. The Bulldogs 10-9-69. The Bulldogs get it done. But Donnie, was that mid? There's some kind of talks going around, like around the community, around the sport. Were you finding the midfield a little bit lackluster this game?
I don't know. This was a game that I think it was a little bit down because Steel side bottom wasn't able to play. He had some injuries, so Collingwood was down one of their better midfielders,
Yeah.
and I think I don't know. The additions of Stefan Martin also as well to the Bulldogs, along with Adam Trelord, you could definitely tell that they played well. I think Collingwood stayed in this game. Mason Cox didn't have too bad a game himself. The
Can't blame
biggest
him for
question.
this loss. He was
Oh
fine.
no. This was one of those where I think the reason that this score is a little bit closer than some people expecting is Collingwood's defense is really, really good.
Yes.
When you've got Darcy Moore back there, who's probably one of the most elite fullbacks in the entire competition. He's such a great interceptor. He moves the ball really, really well. He's somebody I think if Collingwood do not want to lose him because he is the anchor to their defense. Jeremy Howe's back from his knee injury and had another really good game as well. Collingwood's going to be hard to score on. They're not going to be simple. Now, Western did put up almost 70 points. This game did
Mm-hmm.
become a little bit more of a defensive battle late in the game. If Collingwood can keep teams to low scores and just kick straight, they're going to be in games. The problem is you look at the score 7-11 right there. That's a killer. Collingwood has more behinds. You got to put it through the big sticks. I think this was more of what Collingwood didn't do compared to what Western
Mm.
did. If I really say it true,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a nice warm up game. Again, you've got new parts in this Western Bulldogs team. It's going to take them a little time to gel. They're not going to come out like a Richmond who've been playing. Many of those players have been playing together 3-4 years together. Um, they need to gel. So I think this is a good win for the doggies against a rather difficult opponent. There,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some talent there. This is a good win for
Yeah.
Richmond for Western for sure. That you move, you get a win over a good team, you get a little bit of run through your legs. Now it's how's round two go? How does round three go? I know there's talk that Jamar Ugle-Hagan in the twos kicked 5 goals in his game, but unfortunately, their coach has already ruled him out for round
Mm.
two, saying he's still not ready, considering he was part of a lot of Victorian footballers that did not get to play any footy last year. So they
Mm-hmm.
want to get him a couple of games in the VFL before he sees the field, which that's really
That's
rather
fair.
scary for some of the AFL that this extremely talented young
He's getting
man
better.
still isn't playing the AFL and
Right.
they're winning game.
Oh, they could only they're only gonna go up from here. Is what it seems like. And one thing that the Bulldogs were able to do extremely well this game was pass that footy around. They amassed over 450 disposals, ended with 465, nearly 150 more than what the Magpies were able to put up. And they had a number of guys in upper 20s, 30s. Their top guy was Bailey Smith with 36 disposals.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty damn good.
Well, this reminded me a
Also,
lot.
real quick, Don. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
no,
off,
no,
but
no, no, no. You're
shout out to
good.
me for having Dan Bailey on my fantasy footy team. Those disposals got me a good amount of points.
Oh boy, yeah, yep. But no, this honestly, this performance reminded me a lot of the 2016 Bulldogs that
Mm,
won the flag. It's so
mm-hmm.
they're so quick with their handballs.
Yeah,
They're so quick. They move the ball. They want to get down the field. They run the footy along with their handballs really, really well. And with adding Trelaw only makes that midfield that much more dangerous with the footy. So the pieces are there. The
mm-hmm.
performance is there. Oh man, this is going to be a fun doggies team to watch as this year goes on for sure.
Unfortunately for me, just because my best mate, he became a Doggies fan, of course, and I'm stuck over here with GWS. But we'll get to that game in a few minutes because the next game we got to talk about is Melbourne versus Fremantle. Melbourne taking this one 11-14-80. Freo suffering a loss at 8-10-58. And I just gotta say, shout out to Dockerman on Twitter. I'm really sorry. Um, I feel genuinely. I'm not even trying to like be smug about this, even though it may come off like that. I genuinely felt bad during this game just because we pulled the injury list before we started this. Just scrolling through the injuries. It's insane. But speaking of the game specifically, we see Melbourne. They get out to a giant early lead, and they just keep their foot on the gas pedal for the most part. At one point in the second, it was 36-4. The good news for Freo is that for this game, let's find the positives. Let's be positive here. They had the leading scorer of the game with Matt Treburner with 3 goals behind, so that's something you might be able to patch your back on a little bit. Well, don't patch it back too hard, otherwise you're going to break something. Yeah, Clayton Oliver running that offense for the Demons, 35 disposals, and he was involved in 9 scores. So
Mm-hmm.
good game for Melbourne to start the year. Obviously, it's not a good sign for Freo.
Oh, just for this Frio team, like I remember we'll go to our through our beloved fan, Mr. Dockerman. I know he tweeted at one time. He goes, "Is there a hex on my team for sure?" Because if I did my math correctly, they have 15 guys in the injury list going into this, including Sonny Walters and some of their really talented players, and they already had trouble scoring last year. They had
Hmm.
trouble scoring goals when they were a little bit healthier
Hmm.
last year than they were this year. They face a Demons team that I think there was a lot of questions going into the season of could they score because Ben Brown's out, one of their other forwards is out. Now, they got the scoring, but Frio kind of showed they're a really good defensive team. They know how to play behind the footy. The biggest is now they got to find some offense because if they don't find some offense, they're not going to be able to just hold teams down. I mean, Melbourne puts up 80 points. Not too many teams did that last year. Now we had shortened quarters last year, less game time,
Hmm.
so it's understandable that with a little bit more game time, the scores are going to go up just a tiny bit. But only scoring 58, and again, the lack of goal scoring is really going to hurt them. I think right now they're trying to get themselves healthy, and it's not helping that guys are dropping like flies. I'm hoping that they get themselves right really soon. Natty Fife is an absolute animal. I'm hoping he doesn't have to go into the midfield for a ton of time because I know sometimes that does wear on his body a little bit, and he is susceptible to some injuries. We will see. I mean, This is a Demons team that I'm not going to put a ton into this game just because I think they capitalized on a weakened opponent a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, Not to make excuses for Frio, but I think they capitalized on a weakened opponent. So we'll definitely have to see over the next couple of rounds how this Melbourne Demons team goes because I hate putting season expectations on one game,
Of
especially
course.
in a game that has a little bit of to it, shall we say.
Yeah. I think that's a very fair way to put that, Donnie. Now we get to move into arguably the most unexpected result of what might already be one of going to be one of the most unexpected results the entire year, because we had the last year's wooden spoon winner, and they go and they beat, they absolutely, and they unequivocally beat. Although, well, let's put the caveat that Geelong was injured this game. Of course, you didn't have your a stud and Jeremy Cameron playing, but Adelaide gets it done against Geelong, a team that was in the grand finals last year. They get it done 15-13-103 to 13-13-91 in Donny. This was the first time in 50 years that a wooden spoon has been a grand finalist in round one in the following year. 50 years since this happened, and it really wasn't a super close game either. Adelaide had a decent point margin throughout most of the contest, and like I said, I know they were hampered by injuries, but one question that I want to ask you as you start to break down this game, Donnie, is that is this Geelong team not what we thought they would be this year? But give me your thoughts of this matchup.
Oh man, this game. I'll be honest. I did not watch it live. I ended up having to watch the highlights because I had a few things going on that
Yep.
day. But oh my gosh, like social media absolutely blew up. Like I actually kind of knew who won the game before I even had a chance to watch the highlights because I can't tell you how many people were like, "Oh my gosh, what did I just see?" And it was Cats fans. It was Adelaide. I was like, okay.
Oh no.
And then I kind of screamed a little bit and I went, oh boy, Adelaide must have beat Geelong
It's
because
almost like
you could
someone
just
might have saw this coming, Donnie.
well, I don't when we did our preview show, I
Yeah.
said this is the most dangerous team to play in your first game because you got a ton of new players because you pushed your chips in for the championship. You have an Adelaide team that got a lot of confidence at the end of last year, winning three of their last four, and really pushing even in that game against the Tigers in the last game of the season, pushing them a lot further than I think some people expected.
Yes.
This Crows team I think is one of the teams that has benefited from the new rule because they have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of younger players with a lot of young legs. As I've listened to several different people, I think Geelong might be hindered by the new man on the mark rule,
Mm,
because as an older team, they're not a speed team. They're not a team that likes to move the ball quickly. And a lot of these younger teams, aka Adelaide, aka St. Kilda, Western Bulldogs, even Richmond, per se, this new man on the mark rule really helps them because it helps their game style. It's what they're used to playing. Geelong isn't. Geelong is a control footy. They want to control the footy. They want to move. They want to get uncontested marks. They want to be able to drive it into the, to be able to drive it into the 50 with the big guys, with Hawkins and Cameron, to be able to get those uncontested or even contested marks.
yes.
So we will definitely have to see. And then the fact that Dangerfield gets suspended because of a bump that, I mean, quite frankly, no matter how many times I watch it, it's harder to watch each and every time because of the fact that the opponent that Dangerfield bumps breaks his nose, suffers a concussion,
Yeah.
has to be taken off on a stretcher.
Yeah.
As much as it stinks to lose a superstar for the 3-game ban that he ended out getting,
Jake Kelly's going to be out
um,
for a little longer than those 3 weeks.
yeah,
And,
unfortunately,
and then what do you think
um,
about this? Because so he is suspended for 3 games. He didn't really appeal against that. He was saying in an interview that he couldn't really do anything to avoid it. And while I
mhm,
kind of agree with him, it looked like one of those hits where sometimes that just happens. It didn't look malicious and it didn't look like he tried to really get into it. It just looked like wrong place, wrong time. It was just a bad accident. But the thing is that the AFL is taking these hits and head injuries very seriously, and so
mhm,
by the letter of the law, that was obviously it was a penalty, is worthy of a suspension. 3 matches may it was going to be 2 to 3. 3 may seem long to some. I think it was worthy of at least 2. 3 might be pushing it a little bit, but I have no problem with the suspension because they're obviously taking a hard stance on this. It's not like this wasn't really Dangerfield's fault. It was just a bad event that happened, but given what we have in the rules in place, and the way they enforce it, this is fine, and this was going to happen anyway.
yeah, this is just one of those where it's like, I mean, for the American fans that are listening to this, the easiest way I equate it to is the guy that gets the targeting call in college
Mm.
on a bang bang play,
Oh, I
only
hate those so much.
only
So
only
much.
because of the situation that
Yeah.
happens. Because if you look at it, Allen gets rid of the footy just before Dangerfield gets there, and I think if he still has the footy when Dangerfield hits him, I don't know if everything happens the way it does.
I don't think it does.
I
But
think the
he
arms are,
just
I
got
think
in the
the
way.
yep, I think the arms are in the way at just the point where I don't think the head to head contact
Mhm.
happens, and I don't think the broken nose and the concussion. It has sparked some conversations among some coaches, the bump versus the tackle rule. Like if Dangerfield would have went for the tackle instead of the bump, which is what he ended up doing,
Mhm.
you probably might not have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
There's so many factors. I agree with you. This is a complete and utter accident. Dangerfield is not a dirty player. That's never been his
No.
style. That's not been something that he does that not something that he's ever been known to do.
I don't think
This
anyone's
is just a
holding him like. I don't think anyone's really like mad at Dangerfield after this. It's not like he pulled some Tom Lynch where he just slug in a couple Suns players last season. This is just a bad. Oh, Tom Lynch,
no,
you
it's
just
it's
saw
just
that.
a cruel situation, and
Yeah.
he did not. He's already said he's not going to appeal the ban, which, I mean, in some situations he knows that there was nothing much that he could do.
Yeah.
He could appeal it, but I think he's wasting his time. I think the vision just does not give him any help at all. They tried. I mean, if I remember correctly, they said in one of the interviews, I said they were trying to get the definition of severe in a way that could maybe help him, including
Mm.
using Siri, which I found fascinating that they used Siri to define. They did. They asked Siri the definition of severe, and it was the most
Oh, what's
interesting
going on?
thing on on Fox Footy at night is they were talking about they brought in Webster's dictionary, they asked Siri, and yeah, trying to find the definition of severe. I'm not trying to make fun of his lawyers. They were trying their best, but they knew it was going to be a very, very difficult sell to try to get off the 3-game ban.
Yeah.
So I just I'm worried that Cameron and Dangerfield being down with a tough Brisbane game coming up next. Oh boy, this is the Geelong may be in a little bit of strife here early in the year, but we'll discuss that a little bit later. But
You can't get down to 0-2.
oh
It's
no,
because one thing also to shout out Dr. Man again, he put out this great kind of thread of tweets here. So since 2011, teams making the eight have won their first game of the season 52 times and lost it 27 times. Of those 27 losses, 19 have been to other teams who also play in the finals. So you can expect 5 or 6 winners from this weekend's games to play in the finals. If we're going off as averages since 2011. Of the teams that made it in the eight, so 8 in total, only 10% of those lost a team who didn't play in the finals that year. In 2020, there are 3 of 8 in an exceptional year. So it's fair to say that it's likely a team that wins round one plays in the finals. And unfortunately, I don't mean to keep bashing on Freo here. There's a good chance that they drop their couple two. The Geelong might drop their first couple two. We're getting some. We're going to get a little more into our picks, but if we see a game between Geelong and Brisbane, one of those teams is going to go 0-2. So there's a possibility that we see Geelong or Brisbane possibly out of the finals for this year. Of course, still plenty of season, plenty of footage to go through, but a really cool thread that Dr. was able to put out there. I enjoyed looking at some stuff. Go follow him because he puts out some good stuff. Follow at Dr. Man 3 over on the Twitters.
definitely for sure. And then I was also listening to what was it they said that of all the teams that have been 0-2 in the last like 20 years, only 6 of them have made the finals. 6 in the last 20 years, only 6 teams that have started 0-2 have made the finals. They
Brisbane
said,
and Geelong are playing for a
and,
lot.
and I'll give you a little bit of history here. One team was in 2017, and
Mm-hmm.
it was the Sydney Swans. They started 0-6. Yep.
Oh,
Sydney started 0-6 that year and then rolled off 14. And then the last 22, I think they won 16 or 17 of the last 22 to get into the finals. One of the
and
craziest
what do they
things
do
I've
with
ever.
those finals, Donnie?
They lost in the first round. So
I'm sorry.
I know. Hey,
I'm sorry.
we made it. That's all that.
You
Hey,
made history.
at 0-6, I'll be honest, at 0-6, I honestly believed that there was no way we were making the finals. So making the finals starting off that way was actually pretty cool. So
That's fair.
so let's not go into that. We'll hop into the next game here.
Ooh.
Oh boy. I
Two
mean,
teams. Well, if you listen to our preview show, there are two teams that I obviously am not hot on the Hawks. The funny thing here is that either team is our picks to win the Wooden Spoon this year. I'm going with Hawthorn. Donnie's going with Essendon, even though they still had the best logo in all the AFL and it's not close. But it was a very competitive game, and given how I guess we'll just say plainly how bad we thought these teams were going to be, they put on a real solid game of footy. And it was another thing, Donnie, almost like one of the early games, a tale of two halves, because we saw Essendon pull away in the second. They were up at halftime. They're up 66-27, and then you see the Hawks keep chipping away. It's this kind of older team, a little more veteran team. They don't lose their composure. They keep chipping away, and at the end they go from 66-27. Then at the end of 3, it's 76-75. Hawks only trail by 1, and they finish this game winning by just 1 behind. Oh, it was a fun one to watch, especially with seeing Tom Mitchell put on the show with 39 disposals in this one. I thought it was a way better game than what I was really expecting it to be.
oh, for sure. This was, as you said, this was a game of tale of two halves. I mean, Essendon absolutely ran away with the first half. I mean, it looked Hawthorn looked slow. They couldn't get things figured out. Essendon's young team, they went for it.
Yeah.
They absolutely just went for it. And I don't know if Essendon ran themselves out in the first half and Hawthorn's kind of experienced kind of saving a little bit of energy for late. As I said, Clarko is, I mean, he's the Bill Belichick. He's the Bill Belichick of the AFL. I mean, he's the smartest coach you're ever going to run into. As much as Hawthorn and Sydney had their fights in the when it came to the finals and different stuff like that every year, I
Mm-hmm.
still respect Clarko so much. I mean, this was just one of those gutsy wins by a Hawks team that I think they're going to give people some trouble in just the right way. We'll definitely have to see them being an older team when they play some of these more faster paced teams, the Port Adelaides, your Western
Keep it
Bulldogs, your Richmond
Brisbane.
Tigers. We'll have to see kind of how they handle it, because it's a completely different animal than this Essendon team,
Mhm.
who I think they're kind of playing for morality this year. They're playing for the club more than they're playing for the finals, to be completely honest with you, because they've got so many injuries, they've got so much kind of unease at the club because there's so much pressure.
Just trying to give the
Um,
fans something to
oh
look
yeah,
forward to.
exactly. Considering they have one of the longest droughts of finals, since a finals win. In fact, there's actually a website with a countdown of how many days since the last Essendon finals win. Sorry, Essendon fans,
Hawthorn,
I
yeah,
do
yeah,
apologize.
it's all good.
Oh yeah, but
At least the one thing for GWS is that they can't have the longest drought, considering this is only their 10th season. So,
oh, you got to get it in, don't you?
oh,
No,
I gotta make. Well, you see,
it
none of
was
you Giants fans get mad because I'm a supporter, so I can criticize the team as much as I want, right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, it goes that way sometimes. But
Oh,
no, this was a fantastic game. It was absolutely fun. I love games that come down to within a kick because
oh
it
yeah.
keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Well, not even
Absolutely.
within a goal, within a behind, man. Just
Yep.
so good.
Oh yeah, those are always so much fun.
And
Definitely
and
for
that's
sure.
when if for those games where you end 13-13, that's when there's like really wish one of those went a little more to the middle.
Yep. Yep.
uh
You got to kick straight, but it happens.
Now, Donnie, I know I've kept you waiting this whole time to talk about your Bloods, so let's finally talk about it. I thought that this was the biggest upset and the most surprising performance of the round. I mean, it's between them and Adelaide, of course, but what Sydney was able to do in this game, especially with the points they're able to put up, I thought it was a fantastic game. Of course, Brisbane goes 14-10-94, whereas, yeah, Sydney 19-11, 125. Sydney with the biggest shocker of the round, and it was a really close game. Here, I know it's becoming a theme: tale of two halves, because Sydney was down by a goal or pretty much by five at the end of one. It's actually tied at 52 going to half, and then we see Sydney explode offensively over there in the third. They finished 108-67, and then they finished 125-94, a very comfortable margin to win by. And you had some of the young. I can't say some of the young guys. I mean, this whole team is young. You had the young guys leading the way against what was a really good team, second in the ladder last year, and it was a fantastic showing. They have three goal scorers with Earl Goulden, Isaac Keeney, and Logan McDonald. And what it looked like to me is that they just out efforted Brisbane. This was a team where Brisbane looked gas those like last 5-10 minutes, and Sydney was out there. Their run low was still the first quarter. It was a really great game. That's what the young guys, man. What a
When
game
they,
by
when,
Sydney. And I want to give myself a slight pat on the back because I know it's only round one, so let's pump the brakes, Sonny. But I was saying, hey, the Sydney team could surprise a lot of people, make the finals. They got off on this was one really big important first step to take this season.
okay, I'll let fanboy me come out here
Yes.
real quick, just for a little bit, and then I'll reel it back. Fanboy me. Oh my gosh, I could not believe it. Like the first 5 minutes of the game was absolutely, I mean, scary because
Mhm.
Brisbane kicks 3 goals in the first 3.5 minutes and takes an 18-1 lead. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be a very, very long night because it's 3:30 in the morning when this
Yeah.
game started for me here in Iowa.
Good for you, Donnie,
And
staying up to watch that.
I
Had
didn't
to
stay.
get.
I fell asleep.
Okay.
Had the alarm waking me up about 10 minutes before first bounce.
Nice.
I try to get a little bit of rest so I can actually make it through the entire game without falling
Of
asleep.
courp, kind
Because
of
if I
like what I
try to
did for the
stay up,
grand finals
I'm
and in the
making it through the
finals.
fourth quarter. Oh yeah, exactly. But the second quarter, Sydney kind of started going a little bit. Brisbane's intensity kind of waned a little bit,
Hmm.
and Sydney got back into the game. And as you said, halftime it was super close. And fanboy me is like, okay, we're in this. Sydney's in this. We got a shot. We got a shot. A 9 goal second quarter by Sydney, and I was literally I can even pull up the tweet and I
Oh
can
no.
retweet it again for your
Oh boy.
fans. I put holy I cannot believe what I'm watching. Like, could not believe it. Just, I mean, utter astonishment
Well, I
that this
loved it because I woke up that
this
morning, be like, because I was just going to watch the game later, and you text me like, "Did you see? Did you see?" I was like, "Oh, did they do it? Did they do it?"
I was trying not to give it away. I
It's
really
all
was.
good. I thought you did a good job of not giving away. That's the funnest part is that we can't play spoilers to each other. I learned my lesson very early into watching footy with you. Learned it the hard way. But
Oh, should we tell that story?
well,
There was I can't remember what game it
it
was,
was
but
one of the
I
good
was
ones.
watching it late. I was watching it late because I was watching it while I was at work,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I look down and he's tweeting me. Oh my God, did you? And he told me exactly what happened. I'm like, dude, no spoilers. He had no idea. It was fun though. I thoroughly enjoyed
It
it.
was
His
rookie
his
me.
his
It was rookie mistake.
Oh, it was fine. I thoroughly enjoyed the passion and the enthusiasm for it. I knew he was getting into. He's watching the games earlier than I,
I
so I
think
got to
that's like
give him
my
a round
third
of
week of watching it or
Oh yeah, it was
something
great.
really early.
I did not mind it at all. That was great. Now,
But
put
expert
my
you,
coach's hat
expert Donnie.
put my coach's hat back on here. This literally, I completely agree with you. I think Sydney just wanted it more.
Yeah.
Brisbane's Coach Fagan even said he goes, they just wanted it more.
Does
The
Brisbane
effort was
overlook
there.
Sydney in round one?
Some people could say that. I think again, this is a Brisbane team that's a little in fluctuation.
Mm.
Danaher jumps in, who's your new recruit from Essendon, and there's so much on it. How's the forward line going to handle it? I don't put a lot of emphasis in the Amy series just because it's a lot of preseason. There's not much effort put into it. The
Yeah.
coaches aren't fully coaching those games. They're literally throwing the guys out, go have a little fun, go play footy. We'll look at what needs to be done, go on from there. Um, so I hate taking the Amy series too much into it, but literally it was one of those where Danaher starts off the game really well, and then he kind of fades a little bit. And there was almost a little bit of tension between him and Charlie Cameron, because I think Charlie Cameron for the longest time has been used to being the man up
Mm-hmm.
front for Brisbane.
You could
Hipwood
notice that too. It was.
Hipwood has always been kind of that. He's the tall, but he's the mover. He
Mm-hmm.
he he kind of plays that center half forward role real well. And you could, I don't know if Cameron got annoyed that Danaher was kind of in his road of what he's used to. I don't know. Maybe it was just the first game. There was nerves. Danaher was trying to do much more than he's supposed to. And then defensively, Brisbane was just in shambles. They were not playing well. Yes, they had a rookie guarding Logan McDonald, who was also a rookie, but Logan McDonald in his first game in AFL footy kicks 3 goals. Errol Goulden, first game of footy, kicks 3 goals. Braden Campbell, also a rookie, has a really good game with multiple possessions. So all three of the draft picks that Sydney picked up in this last draft all had a day out in their first ever AFL game. So you got to give them a round of applause that all three of them played super, super good.
It's really
And then
impressive stuff. They
Isaac
looked
Heaney comes back,
veteran.
puts in several goals. Papley steps
Mm-hmm.
up in that third quarter and absolutely goes absolutely bananas. This is a team that, and I've heard some Swans fans even say, it's going back to an earlier topic. Do we really need Buddy to come back in round two? Because this team played so well the way it did that I think some Swans fans are worried Buddy steps in and the dynamic of the front line changes a little bit, which
Mm.
I can kind of see because Buddy is one of those, he demands the footy a little bit more. Where with Buddy not on the team, there was much more kind of um, the ball was spread out a lot more amongst the forwards. So we'll definitely have to see going into this round two. It's one of the storylines that I would say going in the second game is does Sydney get Buddy central? Do they try
Mm.
to aim at Buddy all the time, or does Buddy drag a good defender away and open up Logan McDonald and Isaac Heaney and Papley to be open even more because more defenders are going to be where's Buddy, where's Buddy, where's Buddy? They're going to try to take him away. So we'll definitely have to see what kind of happens here. Does Sydney keep the spreading out of the footy to where Buddy only kicks maybe a couple of goals, but he takes a defender away and helps McDonald or Papley or Heaney kick 2 or 3, which will only make Sydney that much more dangerous. So that's kind of the scary thought thinking about that
Mm-hmm.
is if they don't get Buddy central. On Brisbane, I think you just had a bad game. You had several mistakes on the defensive side. I don't think Brisbane is the world is falling down like some people are kind of having it. I think they just had a bad game against a team that played a really good game plan against how they played that day. So if I'm a Brisbane Lions fan, I'm not freaking out too much. You've got a winnable game here against Geelong, which is scary to think. A winnable game against Geelong.
Yeah.
You get that, you're back to 1-1. You're kind of on an even keel, and you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
You drop this one against Geelong, then the questions start coming.
Yeah.
Then is this team was Danaher the right option?
Well, what's
Starts to kind of
crazy?
creep in. We will have to see.
It's really crazy to think a round 2 game might make or break jobs for Brisbane. That's really weird.
I don't know if it'll be a make or break, but it'll definitely make jobs a lot harder. It'll definitely make situations a lot harder with 20 games left, and you
Yeah.
know that you're going to have to win at least 14 of them to make the finals.
Yeah. What's great though is we get to go from this game and we're just
Oh
keeping it
boy.
rolling. We're like, oh, Adelaide won. Oh, Sydney won. North Melbourne against Port Adelaide. Is there a chance, Donnie? And after the first quarter, there's a chance. You're up 16-14. Oh wait, you're going to halftime down by 40. Oh wait, now it's 92-38. Oh wait, now the game's over. Oh, but this was one of the games it brought us back down to earth. There's like, Port Adelaide's a good team, North Melbourne's a bad team. The good teams almost always beat the bad teams, and this just wasn't close. As soon as the first quarter was over, even had Fantasia, he put up 4 goals this game. I don't got too much else to say besides that.
This is plain and simple. Port Adelaide look absolutely electric in this game. Orazio Fantasia and Alir Alir, the new additions to this Port Adelaide team, only made this really good team really, really good. If I'm some of the people in the AFL to see them step up against the North Melbourne team, that I mean, there's a possibility that you could have had a Brisbane type of performance, a Geelong type of performance where you don't step up. Port Adelaide went, okay, we're just going to run right over you like a semi truck. And that's exactly what they did. This is a Port Adelaide team. They put down a statement. Now, again, worst team in the league, most potentially
Yeah.
your wooden spoon front runners. Not that you ever want to be that. Um, Good start. You get a lot of confidence into your players. Horacio Fantasia sounds like he's super excited. Dixon has a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Butters has a good game. Connor Rosie's still out with his foot injury. The still scary thing is some of the guys that are out for them are just as good as the guys that are on the field. So the sport team is still not at 100%. Their best 22 still isn't even on the field. So it's kind of frightening a little bit for some of these teams coming up against Port Adelaide. That this Port team put up 117 and they're not even at full strength yet.
There's a buzzsaw that you might be running through coming up here. Moving on to the next game, another game that let's call it hopeful optimism of when this game when the first bounce went on. Because St. Kilda, they were a finals team last year. GWS, they were a finals team up until like the last 3 rounds, and then they choked it away. A common theme for the Giants was, we have a lead, and then we're going to choke it away. And they find a way to do that once again. They lead late in this game, and they blow another one. GWS finishing 11-12-78. St. Kilda 13-8 and 86. And this was a bad weather game. It was raining. It was not the best of conditions, but they're still able to put up a very surprising amount of points. And now, if you actually go to the AFL website, and then you look at the match timeline where it shows like the key moments in the game, you see it's kind of even. Like the first half, there's like little dips there, and then you get into the second, it's just zigzag, all the way up, all the way down. Oh, and this was just disappointing more than anything. There's my fan out of the way. And then from a expert point of view, Saints good, Giants bad. Giants can't finish. Injuries didn't help them there. St. Kilda is a more experienced team. They're obviously the older club. They have more age on them, and they're just more talented of two teams, and they just kind of showed it there when they were able to clutch things up there at the end, and to be able to pull away from GWS in this one.
This is also a game too where St. Kilda and GWS are kind of like Freo. They've been snake bitten, so many injuries. I know GWS had at least 4 or 5 guys out of this game. St. Kilda was out at least 6 guys for sure. So this was definitely a game where it was kind of the depth of the squad kind of showed here. I think GWS has a ton of talent. They have a ton of young talent, but I think there's a lot of it that's been kind of sitting in the wings a little bit because they've
Mm-hmm.
had those superstar players like the Jeremy Camerons and the guys that have slowly kind of left the club over the last couple of years. So it'll be quite interesting to see how this GWS team kind of goes through this year, whether they start to kind of bring in some more youthful players. I don't know. This is a game that I thought I agree with you. It was kind of like, okay, this is a really close game for most of it, and then just kind of got really erratic as the game
Mm-hmm.
went on. Unfortunately, St. Kilda just kind of proved why they were a finals team last year. They just had the right amount of effort in the right places to win this game. If I'm a GWS fan, you can't really hold your head low on this one because I think you played this St. Kilda team really, really well. Again, you both had injuries, so you really can't use that as an excuse either way. I think it's just the clutch moments. St. Kilda hit them.
Mm-hmm.
GWS didn't.
Yeah.
So if I'm a GWS fan, you take a little bit out of this because you get some depth into your younger players because of the fact you've got some injuries, and you kind of survive this game. You get through it. You hope you're not too injured. I know they may have come out with a couple of injuries on both sides. We'll have to see for sure how the next few weeks go.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it sucks to lose that first game, but there are some building blocks for GWS with some younger players that we'll definitely have to see how that goes for sure.
Sure. And then, of course, you had, like you say, younger guy, Harry Himmelberg. He led the scoring for the game with 3 goals in this contest. But I think the player that GWS might have to end up relying on, although he didn't have the best of games, I mean, at least with the best of accuracy, 1 goal, 3 behinds. But Toby Green was involved in 7 scoring plays. He had about 20 disposals in this one. He was all around the footy during this game. And if Toby Green is able to just improve the accuracy a little bit, I mean, if he's 3 goals to one behind, this is a completely different ball game. So if
Mhm.
he's able to, I'm curious to see his progression throughout the season. I think this could be a really good guy that the Giants are kind of able to put on their cornerstone of their team, and be a guy that they could rely on as the season progresses. I like what I saw from Toby Green, even though it wasn't the best of games. There's a lot of potential in this guy this year.
Toby Green's an absolute superstar. The biggest thing is he just needs to be sure that he doesn't get himself in trouble with the MRO because he's notorious for being a little dirty occasionally. The guy's an absolute gun. I
Stay
mean,
away from
he's the Brad Marchand of AFL. He's such a superstar, but he does really really dumb things at some of
yeah.
the dumbest times. And just being honest with you, come on, Toby Green, do better. Come on, dude, play your game. You're an incredible footballer. You can do so much better. You don't really need to do the jerk things. Just
Hmm.
just stop, okay? Unnecessary. Um he's a guy you can build off of.
Hmm.
I think if he matures and doesn't do some of the dumb things and plays to his ability, he could be an absolute gun. I mean, the guy's an all Australian if he really wants to be. The question is, will he put in the effort? Will he put in the work? Is he gonna put GWS on his back one time and pull him to a victory and really show he can be a leader? That's the biggest thing I think he needs to do this year.
And I got my fingers crossed. So the last game of round one was the Coast. It was West Coast against Gold Coast. West Coast put them 12-11-83, finishing ahead of Gold Coast 8-10-58. And this score discrepancy, like the margin, really isn't evident of the footy that we saw being played. It was a really close game up until the end. It was West Coast getting off to a hot start. They got 2 goals in the first minute 16 of the game, which is obviously, you can't really come up with a better way to start a game of footy with that one. And they ended the game with 5 straight goals. There are a couple of behinds thrown there, but goals wise, they had 5 straight of them. Oscar Allen leading the way with 4 of them throughout the game. And the Suns, they played a really competitive game today. They still might be good this year. I don't want to, like, this win or this loss shouldn't discourage all 10 of those Gold Coast fans, because I think they still have something to look forward to. Uh, but they're really close, at least stat wise, physicality wise. I think tempo wise, and just in terms of just how badly they want it, they were really close. They kept pace most of the game. It just kind of got away from them there at the end. But promising start for West Coast, and not a bad first game for Gold Coast.
Definitely. But I think for me, the part that really kind of sucked the life out of this game a little bit is Maddie Rowell again gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he lands on his knee just right. He's out for the game.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's only a PCL injury. So they're thinking he'll still be able to get back before the end of the year, but another massive blow to this absolute superstar player. I feel for the Gold Coast fans, because I think everybody was like, okay, he got hurt last year. Let's hope it doesn't. And then in the first game, it happens again and again. He's going to miss significant time. I mean, it's at least going to be 6 weeks at least before this injury is going to give him the shot to be able to play. So unfortunately, I look at it as this Gold Coast team now is, how do they band together? How do they play without their superstar in the midfield again? They've
Mm-hmm.
got so much talent. There's so many high draft picks on this team. Stewie Dew is an incredible coach. Um, can Gold Coast bounce back from this? You played a good West Coast team, which is never easy to beat in West Coast. You didn't have the bad things happened, unfortunately. You got to kind of let this one go, move on, play your next game, and see maybe if you can get on a roll after this one. You just had a bad day at the office, unfortunately. It's kind of the way it is. Raul gets hurt, you don't play real well. I mean, the Hydra that is the West Coast forward line with Darling and with Kennedy and with now Oscar Allen. I mean, that's a three-headed monster there that a lot of teams are going to struggle to keep them off the goal, off the goals sheet. So you can't hold your head too much as a Gold Coast fan. Just kind of one bad game at the
It's all good.
worst possible time.
All like I said, all 10, 9, maybe 12 of you Gold Coast fans, depending on the week, which of course we still, if you are out there, especially you Americans, just let us know, because we are still looking for one of you guys for a Don's Disposal interview with American AFL fans. So please just let us know. But I am more than happy as a GWS supporter. You guys, Gold Coast Community guys, we'll all group together, where we had the bad first round, but hey, we still might have some hope this year. So let's not get too down. There's silver linings to this game. But that's gonna wrap it for our round one breakdown. And going from West Coast versus Gold Coast, let's talk power rankings, because my going to round two, the fifth team in the league is going to be your West Coast Eagles. I like what
Before
they.
before you get going here, okay,
Yep, yep.
ladies and gentlemen, he sent me this power rankings. I will preface it this way. I love that he's doing this. This is absolutely awesome, but I will not premiere my power rankings till at least round 5. I want to get everybody several games in. I like getting form along with it as well. I truly appreciate that he's doing this. I think this is awesome that a very younger fan is wanting to do this. So I will tell you fans right now, I had no
No,
impact on this
all mine.
5. It is all him.
This is all the genius of
Give
me.
him all the love on this one.
On all the hate too. Well, actually, I was kind of expecting a little more kind of controversy to get started with this, but like I said at the beginning, those Richmond fans really took over. Sure, do they love being patted on the back, of course, but who doesn't though? And then like I'm going to do power rankings. I know it's just been one round. I don't care if you listen to our like NFL stuff or UFC stuff. I am good with being bold, being out there, because half the time I get these bold predictions right. So we'll see how we go on this one. And Don, you said let's wait for things to play out and stuff like that and take easy. Bump that. We're going to make these Power 5s already, and I don't care. So number 5, like I said, West Coast. Number 4, we're going to roll with the Adelaide Crows on this one. of course, we already talked enough. They knocked off in first time in 50 years. Winspoon beats a grand finalist of that previous year. You gotta put some respect on that one. Coming in number 3, we got your Port Adelaide Power for what they were able to do. I know it's against a depleted North Melbourne team, but we're still rolling from what we saw last year. They still were at the top of the ladder from horn to horn. So you got to keep that respect. They keep the momentum going. They're number 3 right now. And for what this team was able to do against the second best team, the second team of the ladder of last season, they go out, they put on a show, and they put the rest of the AFL on notice. Your Sydney Swans are coming in number 2 on the round 2 power rankings. I know you're laughing, Donnie, but man, I know you have to at least have a little bit of like, yeah, number 2. That sounds good. We'll see how long it lasts. Is the thing.
I'm not laughing to make fun of. I was rather pleasantly surprised to see him that high. I was thinking 4th or 5th max, just because of the fact that there is still some question marks. But again, you play early in the season, but
you got Buddy
I
coming back.
had to laugh. You put him at 2. I was kind of like, okay, interesting.
Hey, also, there's no personal bias. I know. Well, of course, there's still going to be, but I said they were going to be good, so I'm just trying to make it seem even better. Give my takes a little
You're
more
trying to
bright.
will it to be right.
Right. I'm not trying to butter you up, Donnie. Not at all. But of course, we all know who number 1 is going to be. It's the team, the reigning, defending, undisputed AFL grand finalists, the flag winners of last year. Richmond is coming in number 1, and Dusty Martin leading the way. He's already he's the Brownlow leader at this point, and Richmond is looking in great form after round 1, looking like, hey, can we get another flag raise next year? So lots of hopes coming this one, but to go through it again: West Coast, Adelaide, Port, Sydney, and then Richmond at the top. Let us know what your top 5 looks like. If you're, I'm not going to call you a coward, Donnie, but come on now. Let's be just playing with you, my man. Let me know if you guys are willing to put out a top 5 right now. Let us know either in the YouTube comments, over on Twitter at 4th Long Radio, or on Instagram at 4th and Long Radio. Or, best of all, you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts with your top 5 power rankings going into round 2 of the season. And we're going to break things down. We're going to wrap this show with, of course, our round 2 tips. Donnie, the tip master. Let's get into it, because the first game of round 2 is going to be Carlton Collingwood. 2 teams coming off of losses. Who avoids going 0-2?
Oh, the old rivals get back at each other for sure. And I don't know. I kind of hemmed and hawed on this one, because I wasn't sure, should I take Collingwood for who they played against the Western Bulldogs, or Collingwood that does get one of their elite superstar midfielders and Steele Sidebottom back going into this season. But I'm going to go with the young whippersnappers. I'm going to go with Carlton. I think Paddy Cripps had an incredible game. I think they played really, really well against Richmond. And I think Carlton's got more positive momentum going into this week than Collingwood does. Yes, they get Steele Sidebottom back, but he's going to be a little rusty after an off season and everything like that, and missing round 1. I'm going to go the Blues. I think this is going to be a white hot game from the start. It's going to be up and down. We'll definitely have to see, does Mason Cox get going for Collingwood?
I bet you he does. 4 goals.
I'm gonna go Carlton on this one, but I think this could be an absolutely great game to start off round 2.
I want to roll with the Blues on this one too, Donnie, just because what we saw from Carlton, they played a very competitive game from the best team in the AFL right now after round 1. I mean, the defending premiership winners, okay, the defending flag winners, they look good in that one, and their biggest mistake, like we mentioned, was the turnovers. Collingwood is, although very stout defensively, this is a team you can get away with those turnovers a little more than you can against Richmond. And a lot of those turnovers were mental mistakes. Those are round 1. Those are knocking the rust off, even though you have the Amy. It's different. I think they're going to be able to at least clean up the game a little bit. And I like what Carlton has. I like their chances in this game. I'm going to keep with the Blues as well. Another game where 2 huge teams, 2 finalists from last year, 1 grand finalist, they have to avoid going 0-2. This is a can you imagine? You're already in round two, and this is a game that might make or break a season between Geelong and Brisbane. Who's win the big one?
I'm going to go with Brizzy on this one. The loss of Dangerfield, not having Cameron, I think, like I said, I think Brisbane had the better performance of the two. I think Brisbane just needs to tighten up a little bit more defensively. I think if Danaher can get going, if you can get Cameron out of his funk a little bit, I think they've got the scoring to be able to stay with Geelong. So I am going to take the Brisbane Lions on this one.
Man, it sounds bad. I'm gonna copy you on this one too, Donnie. And I feel like this isn't going to be just the second game I take the same pick on because no, you hit the nail on the head. No Dangerfield against a really good Brisbane team that played a solid game against Sydney, and they're going to come out really hungry against this one. You got the whole footy world saying, "Oh, they didn't want this game." Well, Brisbane going, "What? You said we didn't want it? Here, we're going to want it in this one." And I could see them taking this one against Geelong. This loss of Patrick Dangerfield is really going to hurt Geelong in the long run. And man, unless you're one, just become the seventh team to do so, it could be a rough season for you, Cat supporters there. Third game is two teams 1-0 coming off of wins over these two teams. We got the Sydney Swans against the Adelaide Crows. Two of some of the best teams in the league already, Donnie. Who's going? I did not think I was going to be able to say that sentence. But who do you got in this one? You taking your Bloods?
Oh man, the SCG is going to be red and white, and it is going to be loud, and I think that is really going to help the Swannies. I am not homer picking on this one. I liked what I saw last week, and if we see the same performance, if Buddy steps in and has a good game, I don't think Adelaide has the defensive ability to stop Sydney. If Errol Goulden has another good game, Tom Hickey, their ruckman had an absolutely outstanding first game in the Bloods colors, and I think he's going to have a really fun rucking matchup there in the middle. I'm going to go the Swans this one, not homerish. I'm a little bit more bullish on this team. They've got me believing. I really liked what I saw. Um, Normally I would continue the tipping against them because I
Mm-hmm.
thought it seemed to work, but I'm going to give them the nod here. My only worry is that they have had some struggles winning at the SDG the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of years, but I don't know. There's just something about the vibe with this team that I'm really really liking. So I'm going to go with the Swans in this one.
I just think Sydney, in terms of performances in round one, I believe Sydney put on the better performance. Adelaide, I mean, we already gave them a lot of credit. Don't want to take anything away. Great game against, but what was an injured Geelong team? You could argue that Brisbane was the better opponent than Geelong. There's a reason we're both picking Brisbane in round two. I almost say hot with Sydney. This is going to be an electric game, and like you said, being at home, that's really going to propel them. A team that played really hard on the road. Imagine how much harder they're going to play in front of those 50,000. Or how many people they fit?
If I remember correctly, they're going to get 36,000 into the SCG.
36,000 crazy screaming fans. I think that's going to do it for him. And I love it. This game isn't even, it starts before 9 p.m. my time. So
Yep.
it's one, I'll be able to watch a couple of these games live. I'm excited. So I'm taking Sydney with this one. And
A 9:45 my time on a Friday night. I am going to thoroughly enjoy it. That'll be a lot of fun to watch
now,
that
now,
one.
now this next one though, do we even really need to talk about that? Port Adelaide, Essendon. Port Adelaide's winning. We said that like Adelaide and Geelong was a trap game. It ended up being right. This might be a trap game, but no. Port Adelaide's gonna run through Port Essendon.
Yeah, It's going to be at the Adelaide Oval. Port is so difficult to be in the Adelaide Oval. I think Essendon benefited a little bit last week from playing a weaker Hawthorn team. So I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you. I'm also going to go Port on that one for sure. And let me introduce this next one. This one's
Ooh,
going to be a
please.
doozy at Marvel Stadium. St Kilda v Melbourne. Who do you have? Do the Saints win another one, or does Melbourne continue and go 2-0?
This is kind of tough one, isn't it? Because of course we don't have one game to go off of, but yeah, St Kilda winning a great scrappy game against GWS. You had Melbourne beating up on a depleted Fremantle team. So that's why I respect the team that beats the Giants. St Kilda, is going to show that the Giants aren't that bad of a team. They're going to lose to who's going to become a 2-0 team. St. Kilda's going to get her done in this one against the Demons. I believe that. What about you though?
Oh, great minds must think alike. I also
We're
have the
taking
Saints.
another one.
I have the Saints as well. I think this Melbourne team again. I'm just not sure about them. I agree with you. Beating Freo team that's so injury prone. I don't like putting a lot of stock into that game. Again, St. Kilda is also just has so many injuries, but I think they've just got so much talent. They've recruited really well.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they have just a little too much. I'm interested to see how Gone goes up against the young ruckman of St. Kilda here. I think this could be one of those where St. Kilda's midfield has to neutralize Max Gone as much as possible. Because if not, Max Gone can really, really give a lot of teams headaches because he's such a good ruck. He can put the
Yep.
ball wherever he wants. And Christian Petrarca is an absolute gun. St. Kilda has to find a way to neutralize that midfield and make sure that they get just as much of the footy off their ruck taps as Melbourne, because if not, it could get ugly. This is one I agree with you. This was really difficult to choose.
Mm-hmm.
This one is one of those I've circled as I'm going with St. Kilda, but Melbourne is a hot tip on this one as well. I've seen a lot of people tipping Melbourne in this one.
And I think there's a closer game than this one too. The next game though is going to be Gold Coast against North Melbourne, and I did really like the way Gold Coast played against the Eagles. I obviously did not like the way North Melbourne played against the Port Adelaide. This one isn't too big of a pick for me. You got the Winspoon contenders with this one. I'm taking Gold Coast.
I'm going to take the Suns as well. I think the Suns just have a little bit too much talent. I think
Which game are we going to disagree on?
I don't know. We'll definitely have to. Well, there's a couple of them
I
coming up
think
that
I
might that
think
could,
I
that could
know
get
which one we're
interesting.
going to disagree on.
We'll
I think I
definitely
know.
have to see here for sure. I'm pretty much guessing that the next one's probably going to be the same way. Hawthorn hosting Richmond.
Ooh,
Um,
wait, no,
uh, uh,
no, Donnie. Don't get me wrong. My pick for the Winspoon, they have a chance against the best team in the league. Uh, no, they don't. This is going to be, it's going to be a murder, isn't it?
Hawthorn, how
Oh,
how 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 the mighty will fall. Unfortunately,
sorry,
I see
guys.
Richmond winning this one, and Richmond could win this quite heavy, but I don't know. Clarko always seems to find a way sometimes to give some of the better teams a test. So don't be surprised if this game's a tiny bit closer. I'm gonna tip Richmond, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that one
Yep.
because that one's gonna be quite interesting to see how that one goes. And then a quite interesting one down at Marvel as the Western Bulldogs host the West Coast Eagles.
I really
The
think this is going to be
Eagles
the closest game
flying
of the
over from
round.
W. Oh, I completely
I
agree. I
think
think
so.
this could be the game of the round. I think this is going to be the one I'm the most intrigued to
Hmm.
watch. Who do you have in this one, Western or West Coast?
Oh, it's real tough on this one because man, that doggies midfield looked great. They were getting the ball around well. They played a good defensive team in Collingwood, like we were talking about. But West Coast, so they were able to go up and grind out a tough game against Gold Coast and really put on the scoring there at the end. Oh, this is the hardest one for
Mhm.
me. Harder than St. Kilda and Melbourne. I'm gonna roll with the team that I was hot on in our prediction show in the finals. A team that a lot of people are hot on too. West Coast. Let's go get it done against the doggies.
We finally have our first disagreement.
There we
I'm
go.
gonna
I
go.
knew it was
I'm
going to happen. Knew
I'm
it.
gonna go the doggies on this one just because again West Coast traveling over to Victoria is
Mm-hmm.
never an easy travel. It's the one thing that a lot of the out of Melbourne teams, out of state Melbourne teams, it's always interesting discussion hearing how many of them can travel to Victoria all the time and actually play well. And considering West Coast does it every other week, it's always fun to see. I think this Western Bulldogs team just they're so good.
Mm-hmm.
This is your litmus test. Collingwood was kind of the appetizer. This is your first part of your main course of the season. You win this game and you win
That's
this game
huge.
impressive.
Yeah.
You're starting to be put into that place where you're with the Richmonds and the Ports as the flag contender. Like I think there's still a little bit of doubt on this Western
See,
Bulldogs
to me,
team.
I
So
think this is just a huge prove it game more than anything,
uh,
especially to that midfield. If they're able to at least try to get close to expectation. I know they're very lofty expectations that were set at the beginning of the season, but if they can at least get close to that against a solid West Coast team,
Mhm.
they're going to be a team that's going to have a lot of respect put on them, and they're going to be a team that people look up at, like they see their, oh, we're playing this team next week. Oh boy, let's buckle down.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it's you have elite Rockman and Nick Nat-Nui versus elite midfield with Trelaw, Bontempelli, and Dunkley. So it's going to be an absolutely electric game for sure. That is going to be the game that is the cannot miss game of the round. Finally, sir,
Hmm.
last one,
Freo and
last one.
GWS, and
Oh,
I'm just going to say,
Doctor Man, and you have your first gonna have your first heated discussion when it comes to this one.
I guess so, because I mean, two teams is suffering from injuries. One obviously suffering from way more of those injuries, and all I gotta say, hey, GWS, please, please actually win this game. Because if you don't win this game, I'm not sure which one you're gonna win, unless it's against a team like Hawthorn or Essendon. The GWS realistically, I mean Fremantle, if they lose this game, they have like kind of a pass. It's like, oh, you guys, you're missing half your roster. You're gonna have to. I mean, I've seen the jokes going around. Oh, you're going to reach into your women's team to pull up some players from them, and so you can actually make the 25 man. But they have excuse to lose this game. If GWS, I know you're a little injured. You're not nearly as injured. If you don't win this game, there's it's season over at this point. So it might be out of hope, might be out of just gut feeling. GWS, they get this done.
Oh man, this is interesting. Ready for this?
Oh,
I am
please.
also going to jump on the Giant. I am
Oh
going
my
to put my faith in the Giants. I think the injury issues,
god. Mm-hmm.
the travel from, if I remember correctly, I believe this game is in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the travel from Western Australia over to the eastern part of the country is
Yep.
never easy for the outer state teams.
Yeah, it's gonna
Um,
be taking place at Optus.
yep. So there's just more. Oh no, so it's in
So
Western Australia
they're
then.
going. Oh no, they're going to the west. Oh.
If it's over in Optus, it's over in
Mm,
Western Australia. So that gives Frio a little bit of an advantage there. But I'm gonna go. Yep, it is an Optus
yep.
Stadium. Just
Thank you for
um,
fact checking me. I appreciate you.
no, you're good. No, you're good. I'm still gonna go GWS just because I think that GWS has a few more of their normal everyday stars there. Frio has trouble scoring. GWS has a little bit less trouble scoring. So I see a little bit more there. GWS decide this is going to be just an absolute slugfest.
It's
This could be a low scoring game if both
I
teams
think this
play
is
the
going to be
way
more of
they
a
could.
battle of attrition more than
Oh,
anything. Who can
exactly.
be the
Yep.
less injured in this one?
Yep.
Jeez.
This one's going to be goal accurate. I think goal accuracy is going to make or break this game.
Hey,
Is if
Green,
you get a
you
team that
better
kicks
be
three or
accurate
four,
this week, damn it.
yep, three or four behinds could absolutely kill you in this game. So I'm gonna go GWS. Dockerman, I love you, but I kind of agree. The hex on your team right now is a little intimidating when it comes to tipping, unfortunately. So I'm going to tip GWS.
Thank God you said that, Donnie. Give me a little bit more hope, and I am going to need it. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our round one breakdown of the AFL. Let us know what you think of not only of the still on Mark rule. Give us your thoughts on the Max King story, and what you think the Sydney Swans are going to look like with the return of Buddy Franklin. Give us your biggest takeaways, and like I said, throw in your power rankings, and we're looking forward to your round two tips, because even if you didn't get yours in for round one, we're going off for percentages here, so you still have a chance to enter into the tipping competition for this year for a chance to win some good prizes, such as, if you're looking on video, the shirt I'm wearing, the Footy is Underrated Tri-Blend t-shirt, very comfy. Also, you just go teespring.com/4thandlong for this, or the4thandlong.com/apparel. I'm done with my shilling, Donnie. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us on this one, our very own AFL correspondent. And it's gonna be, hopefully, round two lives up to the precedent that round one set for us.
Definitely for sure. And keep an eye out. AFLW is rounding down. It is round 9 coming up this week. Round eight's review is coming out here in a few days.
Yes, it
We are
will.
getting ready for finals footy in the women's division, and it is going amazing. We cannot wait. The six that make the finals are going to be absolutely hellacious. Please keep an eye out for that. If you get a chance, please watch the women's game because there are some hellaciously good teams going to be playing for a flag this year.
And not just that one too, but let's also check out, if you haven't yet, Coach S's great interview with Fox Footy's own Sarah Ollie with a really, that was a good one. That was a good one, Donnie. I gotta give it to you. So if you haven't caught that one yet, please go check out. She was a great in talking this one, Donnie. A real good interview you got together. So just go watch it. Go watch the women's stuff. Go watch it if you haven't caught up the AFL the American AFL fan series that Donnie did with his Nine's disposal. It's been real good. Like we said, Gold Coast fans, hit us up because we still just need you guys. We need the few people that even exist. I just need proof that there is such thing as a Gold Coast supporter. But thanks for tuning in this week. Make sure, and we will catch you after round 2.